Now we are learning now what is the coach competencies as per the ICF guidelines. The competency being establishes and maintains agreements. So our learning outcome for today would be understanding the agreements at three levels. One is the relationship and mutual expectation. So what is really coaching? What is not coaching? As we know that coaching is an inquiry-led conversation where the client will come up with the goals and the client will be leading to form the actions and will own the progress. And the coach will actually facilitate the conversation to help the client come up with the goals, to ask questions in such a way that there is discovery and an awakening and enlargement of perspective. And then that goes on to looking at various options that will emerge, and finally actions and a review. So that is what is coaching, and what is not coaching is telling, consulting, guiding, where all the time, the coach is actually just giving his understanding of what should be and guiding or advising the client or telling the client that this needs to be done. So the context will be set in terms of relationship. What is the coach, what is the coachee, and what is the process that will happen. The second being the coaching assignment, the formal or written contract. Now, as we get into an engagement with a coachee or the client, we will have often either as an individual or with the organization, there needs to be clarity in terms of multiple things. One is going to be how many sessions will the engagement cover, okay? How often would you be having it? Would you be having it once a month, once in 5 weeks? Is it a 45-minute session? Is it a 1-hour session? Is it going to be offline? Is it going to be at a physical location, or is it going to be online? Okay. What is it that the organization is viewing in terms of confidentiality? Now, as per our ethics, the entire coaching agreement is confidential. Yes, it is confidential, definitely between the coach and the coachee. However, if there is a sponsor involved, they may require that the confidentiality is kept within not just the coach and coachee, but maybe the manager as well, or maybe the HR as well, or maybe the head of the HR. So at this point, it is important to know who all get covered under the confidentiality part of it, what should be shared and with whom. So it's very likely that the organization may say that we really don't want to hear about the conversation per se, but we may be interested in knowing what are the action plans. So that so we know whether the coach is following the action plans or implementing the action plans as per the process, as per the coaching that is happening over the engagement or not. So depending on what every organization feels, they will come up with their own own what they expect in the coaching engagement, and all that is put into a contract. Also, what are the fees? Are the fees going to be, per session, per engagement? Everything needs to be clarified. What if the coach lands up at the physical venue, but the coachee does not land up at the physical venue? Would that mean that the coach gets money for it, does not get money for it? So all the logistic and administrative aspects of coaching, along with coaching process, along with what is the overarching engagement and expectation, is written in a formal contract, so that this prevents any let up or any discomfort later on. So any contract cannot cover each and everything. Something can be, something can happen, and then it's really the judgment of the coach and the organization. But the more clear and the more detailed the agreement is, it is better for all concerned. Okay. And then, of course, the coaching agreement for the session. What is the session goal? And how are we planning to accompany the session goal? So these are the learning outcomes that we will see in today's session. And then, of course, go on to practice the competency along with the PCC markers. That is, what are the markers? The markers are going to be, this is expected out of the coaching conversation. So is it good? Is it bad? Is it covered? It is not covered. So that is what is a PCC marker, that they are going to be areas which need to get demonstrated. And then if the areas are demonstrated, it is marked. So the competency is the establishes and maintains agreement. Okay. So co-creating the relationship, partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to create clear agreements about the relationship process, plans, and goals, establishes agreement for the overall coaching engagement as well as those for each coaching session. So here, when we say stakeholders, it is not just the coach and the client as in who is getting coached. Sometimes the stakeholders, depending on the coaching engagement, if it's say like a 360 degree feedback, then the stakeholders can be your manager, it can be your peers, it can be people who are reporting to you. It can, even if it's not 360, if you're working in a team, you may require some inputs from some stakeholders, maybe the team leader, maybe if it's a cross-functional team, some other people who are your stakeholders. So all these stakeholders, if it's going to be relevant to your coaching process, will come into play. And then there has to be a clear agreement about the coaching relationship. What is to be shared, what is not to be shared. Sometimes they may just take inputs on the coachee itself, that is the client itself, and they may not share. So all share the action plans, etc. So all that becomes very clear when the contract is getting made, and the partnering with the client is done on an overall basis. This will also mean that we establish what is the overarching coaching engagement. What is it that you're seeking over the next 5 or 6 or 10 sessions? And then how is it going to get broken down to each of the sessions so that it aligns to the overall session, overall objective, which will be met. Let us see this.
And now we're beginning to establish the coaching agreement. Your coaching agreement is both the formal and the informal contracting that you engage in for your coaching relationship. Now think of this being very much like a dance. And with any good dance, both partners need to know, well, what is it that we're dancing right now and what role am I playing? Well, in coaching, it's actually very similar. It's important to outline to your coaching counterpart, well, what is coaching specifically? How does it differ from psychology, from counseling? Really getting clear on this relationship. In addition, what is the role of the coach and their responsibilities? What is the role of the counterpart and their responsibilities? As long as each partner knows what they're going to be doing, it makes the dance the coaching relationship so much easier. At this point, you're also going to be exploring the interesting idea of chemistry. The better the chemistry, the closer the connection, the clearer that connection, the easier it is for the counterpart to want to engage in the coaching relationship. So remember, in establishing your coaching agreement is both formal and informal. And along these lines, what is your role? What is their role? What are your joint responsibilities? And finally, checking out that chemistry to ensure that your relationship starts on a positive note. And now we're beginning.
So let's go on to seeing what builds the agreement. So explaining what is coaching and what is not coaching, what is actually the coaching process to the client and all the relevant stakeholders, as we just discussed. Reaching an agreement about what is and not appropriate in the relationship. what is not being offered, and the responsibility of the client and the relevant stakeholders. So what is not appropriate is not telling, is not consulting, is not advising, okay? And what is, therefore, what is being offered and what is going to be the responsibility of the client. So the responsibility of the client would mean to own the entire progress. So, and to be open to share, whereas the responsibility of the coach will be to facilitate the process. And all relevant stakeholders would need to give their inputs at the time of the engagement itself. So all the responsibilities, once they're clarified, it makes the engagement smooth.
So if you can please go back.
Yes.
So when you say client should give all the information, all relevant information, what basic information is really expected? Like sometimes, people may not open up in the very beginning. So maybe some kind of hesitation, until unless you reach one level of comfort zone, or like the chemistry and the relationship, what you mentioned earlier. Until unless that is reached, sometimes we may not get the inputs. And like last week, as we were kind of trying to learn few things, sometimes the goal may be A, but as we progress, it may become X, Y.
It will get tweaked. Yeah, it may get tweaked. Yes.
Yeah. So in just like looking in those contexts, what should be, like, for example, like we as new coaches, what is the bare minimum information that we should expect from the clients?
So when we are talking about clients, now let's look at a client in an organization. So if there is an HR who's interfacing with you, for example, so when they're looking at an overarching engagement, okay, so we are saying that the engagement is 8 sessions or 10 sessions or 6 sessions, that they know that we are looking at so many sessions, 8 sessions, 6 sessions, whatever. And for this particular associate, what we're looking for is an improvement, say in team building or team relationships. So that's maybe the overarching engagement, okay? Or maybe an improvement in performance. So then even in improvement in performance, it could be dive down to a couple of areas that we are looking for performance, maybe in quality control, maybe, or, performance in improving sales at a broad level, to be able to achieve it over a span of 6 to 8 sessions. So that will get discussed initially. And then as you go along for every session, then all the stakeholders won't be needed every time. Then you are actually meeting your client, and then following the process to keeping that overarching goal in mind. And the first session, you would have had a conversation with him as to what are your aspirations, what is it that you're looking for in terms of a vision in your, from a long-term vision. And you'll try and understand the client's values, you'll understand the client's beliefs, and where he is really vis-a-vis what is the engagement. So keeping that in mind, that is what you need to, when you're saying what is the bare minimum, first and foremost, there are few bare minimums. One is going to be how many sessions, what are going to be the fees. The third is what is the overarching goal. How many sessions, what is the overarching goal that you're going to be? Who are you going to get the inputs from? Are you going to get the inputs only from your client itself, or are there other stakeholders? Then your confidentiality, with whom is the confidentiality to be maintained? Is it only the coach and coachee? If it is an individual getting coached, it may work there. But if it's an organization which is sponsoring a employee to get coached, it is unlikely that will remain only with the coach and coachee, because people would want to know the progress. So then it would mean, okay, we don't want to know the coaching conversation per se, but we'd like to know how is the action planning moving, or what is the shift that is being made. So these are the basic things that need to be put in place initially. Yes, Seema.
Hi, I heard you say that in the agreement, the number of sessions and the duration of each session should also factor in. Right? Now, would we be guided? How do we calculate in the beginning that how many number of sessions would we have? Having said that, also what if, let's say when we are connecting with client and talking to them, and there are some meaningful silence, or with the discussion, the session kind of prolongs, and also the number of sessions kind of spills over. So what do we do in that case? Or is there a provision in the agreement for that?
Right. Good question, and a valid question. When you're having an agreement, you will have an agreement on the number of sessions, because there will be a mutual dialogue as to, for a shift in this particular area, it requires 6 sessions or it requires 10 sessions. Okay. So that conversation will happen between you and your client. Client could be the client or the sponsor. Okay. Now, typically it could be a 45 minutes, it could be 1 hour. Now that's really your judgment, because there is no hard and fast rule that it has to be 1 hour or it has to be 45 minutes. But normally coaching conversations happen for about an hour. It can happen that when you're actually doing the coaching, you may spill over, okay, a little. But the idea would be to try and maintain it, because it is you along with them who have called out that 1 hour should be sufficient. Okay, so it's unlikely that every time it's getting spilled. Now, if at all you need to have more sessions because you feel that as you go along, there's been some change in, some tweaking of the goal, something more needs to be added, then again, it will have to be discussed with the sponsor, because ultimately the sponsor and you have had a dialogue on what it should be, right?
Okay, so that possibility is there. We need to keep the dialogues open accordingly.
Always, the dialogue should always be open. However, you're contracting, when you contract, you're initially contracting for something. If anything needs to be changed within that, then you will need to again have a dialogue with the sponsor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Shiv?
Ma'am, you said that coach's responsibility is owning the progress, and then you said coach's responsibility is facilitating the what?
The process.
The process. Okay.
The process. Through the process, the coach will enable the coachee to come up with the goals. The coach will enable the coachee, that's the client, to share deeper. Okay. It's up to the coachee then to, with his new understanding, come up with different options and action plans and implement the yeah. So it's basically led by the coachee, because the coach is not telling him anything. He's facilitating through the process of inquiry or questioning. Yeah. Is that all right, Shiv?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I got it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So one question
yes,
on the number of hours, like it's all it takes a good amount of experience for us to kind of conclude, okay, what might be the possible number of because like every scenario may be completely different, because at the end of the day, it's our human beings whom we will be working with.
Yes.
The context may be same, like as you are giving example, comments or team building. That context may be same.
Yeah.
But since the individuals are different, like with whom we are going to be working, I mean, how practically a generic assumption, okay, maybe 5 to 6 sessions or things like that will work. Or else does ICF or MML, gives us a guidance? Think like this, if this is the context where you're working, go with this as basic package, like basic number of hours, or how you have to look at it. And do we have any such guidance?
So MML, I don't know whether I just request Hemant to answer whether there's any such package. Hemant, are you there?
Yes. So first you complete your answer, then I will speak. Yeah.
Right. So from an ICF point, there is no such package that you should do 4 sessions or 6 sessions. It's really based on a conversation. And also, when you're talking to the sponsor or the coach itself, you would know, you yourself will be able to judge that, yes, okay, this is where you are right now. This is what we're expecting. And you would be able to come up with a certain number of sessions. Now, you obviously will know that in 1, 2, or 3 sessions, normally it will not get done. So normally it takes about 6 to 8 sessions, if not more, to get done. Now, while you're talking to them, you may say, normally, sir, it does take this much. What is your expectation? So that again becomes a dialogue. And then, of course, it can be reviewed. So that's the way it normally happens. But if MML has something else to share,
so it's a genuine problem with all the coaches, and Seema and you have asked a very pertinent question on how to basically do this systematically. And I also believe, because we are all industry professionals and we need some objectivity into this particular decision making. It can't be so subjective and so unclear, which is the case with all the coaches in the market. So what we have done, so there is a tool called as CMK. It is called as Create My Key. So during the induction program, I have already briefed you little bit on this particular CMK. This tool has been developed by my friend who is a MCC coach. His name is Alex Thapo, and he has a organization like Master My Life who trains coaches, right? So he is also associated with the ICF ACDP programs. What this tool does, and this tool you are going to get after you completing this particular training program. So Alex is going to take minimum 1 session, and during that session he is going to brief you on this particular tool, and at the end of this particular program you will be getting a 6 months free membership for this particular tool, right? So wherein you will practice and all that, and at the end of the 6 months there will be annual membership, but it's a very frugal membership. So the per annum, say maybe 2,000-3,000 rupees or something like that per annum will be the fee. Just hold for
So, Ms. Kulkarni, as what Mr. Lavandria was telling, so that means we will get, I mean, if I infer it in my own understanding, that means that we would get multiple templates as in something which will guide us on this.
That's what, yeah, Hemant is back. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Seema, for filling the gap, because Seema will say why there is a quietness. So let me speak.
No. This was, I was trying to add meaning to the silence.
Okay, good. Thank you. So means I'm just telling you at a broader level. So don't worry. So the first you will get it free, and then it will be 2,000-3,000 rupees per annum. So don't worry regarding the cost. Now, what is this particular tool? This particular tool has been created, and I'm in touch with the Alex. Of course, I have given him some inputs for the further improvement and all that. And he has developed this particular tool some 7 to 8 years before, and he has already improvised it. So when the coach will come to you, every coach is facing this problem in the market. That is how I will assess how many sessions, because there is no say objective method to do it. So the CMK is that objective method, wherein there will be a questionnaire, right? So there is a online questionnaire. The client will fill that particular online questionnaire. Once the client answers to them, everything is online, no manual intervention from the coach side. So a key will be generated. This key can have, say, maximum, I think, 18 threads. I'm talking about the maximum. So the longer that particular key's leg is, that is the problem. Now, for example, there is one client who has only, say, single problem to achieve his goal or to solve his problem. Then maybe you can even think of, say, 3 sessions. But if some client has, say, 8, 9, 10, 12 big threads, that means the scope is very high. Then you have to tell the client, see, these are the threads. We have to work on these 12 legs. Because you have to work on these 12 legs, so I say recommend you 12 sessions. So now the coach is having a objective evidence which a client can see on the screen, that is, okay, I need to work on these many areas. So depending upon that, then you can decide the number of sessions to start with. Again, it is to start with. Then sometimes what will happen, the client can get early result, then there can be reduction in the sessions. Option number 1. Option number 2, you can have another goal added in the session, and you will continue your journey. In my case, that had happened. Another thing will happen, that is, although you have a say to start with, thought about say 6 sessions because there were problem or the legs were say only 4, and you said that okay, means with this particular 4 topics we can basically do it in the 6 sessions. But at the end of the fourth session or the 5th session, you and Kochi might realize that we require more. But again, now you are having the objective tool, right? So objective tool, then you can say, okay, from this particular key, now we have covered the 3 legs. Now the balance 2 legs are there. So now we will go for another 4 sessions. So don't worry, we are going to help you with this particular tool. This particular tool is a part of our last leg of the program, which is the coaching business. Why? Because this is going to give you a great, say, a tool to have the agreement with the client on the number of sessions more objectively. So you are going to learn it at an appropriate point in time.
But will we also covering subjectivity of these things? Because sometimes based on the subject, we may end the coaching session in 1 or 2 sessions, or we may extend more than 10 sessions. But with this kind of questionnaires, we can put them in a kind of a template. Okay, for these are all the things we may be having this session. Is that what we are saying here, Hemant?
You will come to know, means I think I have already explained for 10 minutes.
No, I got it. But
yeah, agree. So my response is, right now, I don't want to take too much of the time because the today's session is on agreements. So there was a question which was out of the syllabus. What was the question? Right. So means I will not say out of the syllabus, but now you are thinking about the number of sessions. This particular session is focusing on during the session, how you will arrive at an agreement during the session. So maybe Sushma will talk only 10 to 15 minutes on the relationship level agreement, on the holistic contract, and then the maximum session time will be utilized. How you will arrive at a right agreement during each session is the objective. So the question was asked, that is there any objective method which will help us in say agreeing with the coachee objectively, that is okay, we should make an agreement for the 3 sessions, 6 sessions, 10 sessions, 12 sessions? My answer is yes. Now, unless you operate that particular system, you will not know, because right now you are asking a question which is a hypothetical question because you don't know this particular platform, and there is no point right now in we telling you that particular platform. Why? Because even to operate that particular thing, you have to undergo this particular training. So at an appropriate point in time, Lakshmi, we will introduce you this particular tool, and the creator of the tool, Alex himself, will come and explain this particular batch on how this particular tool will be thing. Now, once you have the objective tool, you have all the liberty in the world to become subjective. Right. So this objectivity is not going to close the subjectivity. Still, you can use your creativity, innovation, you can discuss, you can flex, everything is possible. But now at least you have some objective background, the key to start with in framing, that is okay, we will go because of this particular key, we will go with this number of session. And during the session, you will then flex, you can reduce the sessions, you can increase the number of session depending upon the subjective understanding what coach and coachee will have on the progress, because each coachee will have their own speed. Some coachee will be achieving results very fast, some coaches will be slow, because the speed is not governed by the coach, speed is always governed by the coachee. So depending upon that, you can flex and you can decrease or increase the number of sessions. So right now, is this clear at a big level to you, Lakshmi?
Yeah. Yes.
So this is enough as of now.
Namaha. Yes, Namaha. Hello. Namaha, can you hear me?
No, I'm sorry, sir. I was just mute. Okay, I have a question that while establishing and maintaining an agreement and coming to a consensus, what if the client says, oh, no, let's put to rest all this, I will take one session as it comes. If I like the session, I will go for the second session, or maybe I think I'm done in one session. If I feel the need be, then we go for a second session. What if the client says something like this and he has absolutely no idea that what the process of the whole coaching, and what if he comes up with something like this, a kind of a reaction like this? How do we tackle that client?
Well, see, in my own experience, where the client is not very sure, then we start with a minimum number of sessions. So if the client says that, okay, so much is not required, or we start with a couple of sessions where a particular thing can get covered, you start with the minimum. But eventually there has to be some understanding as to number of sessions vis-a-vis the expectation in terms of what needs to get done. So it cannot happen that, you start with wanting to accomplish something, and at the end of one session, the client says, we don't want it. Now, if you don't want it, there has to be some reason as to why they don't want it. Whether it is because they're unhappy with the way the coaching is happening.
It's not at the end of the session. It's on the beginning of the session only that they are little they're apprehensive of having too many sessions, and they want to take one session at a time, or maybe they feel, okay, let's go for the session and talk later about the second session.
Yeah. So Sushma, I will respond to this. Yes, there can be some cases. Why? Because the coachee may not be aware about the coaching process, and that may be the reason the coachee will say, okay, I will first go for one session and all that. So in that case, means I will give you some options. Why I'm saying the options? Because there is no generalized method which will work with each and every human being on the earth, right? So every human being has their own style of working. So that applies to the coaching domain as well. So the number one, during the expectation setting, during the discovery session, right? So when you will discuss as a coach to the coachee and understand that the coachee is not very much aware, and that will be the case with the 80% of the coaches anyway, that they will not be aware about the coaching that well. So you will explain that the coaching is necessarily a medium to long-term process. That is what you are going to learn during this particular program. That is how to talk to coachee, what to talk to coachee during this particular discovery session, what not to talk, how to acquire clients. So step by step we will understand. But since you have asked this particular question, I will answer. That is the expectation setting with the coachee. When you will start talking, you will always start the talking, and the coaching is a process which is medium to long term, and generally coaching happens say between 6 to 12 sessions. So you are already creating that particular idea into the coach's mind from the day one. It is not that you are telling the coachee later. From the day one as a coach, when you are, means, for example, you are going to a surgeon, right? Now the surgeon is going to tell you that is first you have to get admitted for the 2 days, then I will operate on you, and then that operation will take 3 hours time. So now the surgeon has given you the idea, and because of that idea, you will basically manage your family members who will come and all that. So the same thing is with the coach, right? So when the person will come to the coach is going to tell that the coaching is a process which is a developmental process, and the development is not going to happen in a single session, right? So the development is a process. So wherein generally, this is what you have to tell, not the specifically in your case. Generally, the coaching sessions, minimum 6 sessions to up to 12 sessions is generally how the coaching happens. So you are now creating that particular impression and the mindset into the coach's mind. In spite of that, now I am coming to the level 2. The level 1 means in 60% of the cases your problem will solve in the level 1 when you know how to talk to coachee, what to talk to coachee, what not to talk to coachee, which you are going to learn in the program. But in spite of talking that, if the coachee says no, I want to try only 3 sessions. All right. Because you cannot change other people, right? You can only explain them. But in spite of that, if that person is not ready for a long term and he wants to try out, but of course he has to pay for that particular sessions, then okay, no problem. You start that particular association with the impression that your recommendation was, for example, 6 sessions, but the coach said first he will try the 3 sessions, no problem. So you will start with a 3 session. Of course, it is not that you will go purposely slow or something like that. You will follow your normal process. So at the end of the second session, then again you and coach will discuss. If the coach is finding value in extending that particular session to the 4th, 5th, 6th, coach will do it. But if the coach says no, I'm all right with the 3, it is all right. Why? Because it is coach driven. You are not doing hard marketing in the coaching, right? So if the coach says I am okay with the 3 sessions, okay, done. I'm okay with the 4 sessions, okay, done. But you always set the expectations right. You give them, that is, the coaching is a development process, and then any same person will understand. If we are talking about a development, the coaching, the coach is not going to give you the fish. The coach is going to teach you how to fish. So if you have to learn that particular thing, I think the learning takes time. That understanding maximum coach can have. Okay.
I think, Hemant, I had also understood, maybe she can correct me, is that you agree for a certain number of sessions, and at the end of one session, they decide not to continue with it, not to continue with the engagement.
Yes.
So in which,
right. So now, So now this is not related to the agreement. Now this is related to the demonstrating ethical practice. If my coach is saying that is okay, I want to discontinue the association, all that, by all means, no problem at all. Coach can discontinue the association at any point of time in spite of having XYZ contract. Of course, when the coach will discontinue, there will be a dialogue, right? Because you are already the partners, right? Yes. So you will discuss with each other. That is what
is the reason?
Right? What is the reason?
What is the reason? Exactly.
But you should not ask the question why. No, right? So the discussion has to be at a very I can say at a very positive level. That is okay. Means you are taking this particular decision.
Yeah.
Let me understand that is okay. What is the reason behind this particular decision making? So you will use the language. You will not use the language, oh, you have signed agreement with me for the 6 sessions and now you are breaking the content. No, he has every right. Coach has every right to break, increase, do whatever they want. So you discuss, you understand. And in my opinion, means again, this is my observation and my experience in life. If you are a master my life trained coach, and if you are effective and if you are going to add value, in more than 50% of the cases, coach will extend that particular assignment, but the coach is not going to curtail that particular assignment. Why? A person will curtail the assignment if the person is not getting value. So the onus is on the coach to see that the entire coaching process adds value to the coach's life. So this particular question, so you are killing the question at the root, right? So the root cause is the value addition. If you add the value, means for example, I am running this particular program, right? So now means as soon as I launch this particular program, from the batch 1, we are very successful. In market, people struggle to get even 5 students, and the Master My Life consistently is getting average 20 students. Why? Because I am offering value, right? Tomorrow, if I don't offer value, automatically the number of students are going to go down, right? So always as a service provider, you have to focus on value addition. If you focus on value addition and if you give real value to the coachee, then this particular question will not arise. But if it arises, accept it. If it arises, accept it.
Definitely, sir. That's why I
accept it without a confrontation. Yeah. Just like to add.
That is exactly. Sorry, ma'am. That is exactly the reason the second part of the question was absolutely not there on my mind, because I believe that if it's an MML student, this kind of a question or this kind of a situation should never arise. Yes. So the second part of the question was never there on my mind. It was only the first part. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Is Namaha still wanting a question? Ask something?
No, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. I
Yeah.
just have one question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when it comes to financial aspect, the whole discussion that we had, if the coachee wants to discontinue the coaching in the middle, and when we talk about the financial aspect and the payment is done in advance for the 6 sessions, and after the 3rd session, the coachee says, now I don't want to continue the session. So it won't affect the financial aspect, or if we have to give back the remaining 3 session amount, or what exactly?
Okay, now let me just answer this. Again, it's really what you have contracted on and what you feel is the right thing to do. So if in the beginning of the contract itself, you have contracted for 6 sessions and, irrespective of whether the client shows up or not, you're going to get the money, then that you will get it, okay? Because that's how you've contracted it. But somehow, if for any reason he has chosen to break the contract, and why is he breaking the contract? Is it because he's not getting any value out of this engagement? Or, or if the coach somewhere feels that no, what the client really needs is to go to, a therapist because he seems to be requires some issues, or if he has some issues on mental health, then it is up to you not to take it. You see, there is a contract that will govern it. But then there is also your own sense of ethics, what needs to get done. So the contract is always there to ensure that there is no mess that happens. Okay, but every contract will not be able to envisage each and every situation that can happen, correct? So then it's really a question of what you think is the right thing to do and with a dialogue with the sponsor.
And ma'am, if like after, let's say 6 sessions, the coaching went great and everything, we saw the progress and action plan was on point, the contract was made for 6 sessions. But still, if we feel like there is just one more session we should take as like a conclusion session. Yeah. So if as a coach, I believe that, no, I don't want to charge this particular session, but just to build that rapport, for that, I want to continue with the conclusion session and the coachee agrees out of the contract. So it's fine, right?
Well, it should be in the contract, anything that you do, because every session you're actually contracting for a service that you're going to deliver. Okay. So if you're choosing for whatever reason not to take money, if it's going to be like a pro bono session, which is also okay, but it will still need a contract as to all other aspects, isn't it? What is it that you're planning to do in that one session? Is it going to be online, offline, whatever it is? So the contract has to be there for every session, because the contract is actually your understanding each other on what you're going to deliver and what the person can expect from your delivery. So then there is a sync in that.
Okay. So,
all right, got it.
Yeah. So Vinny, I will add to what Sushma is saying. When the Sushma is saying the contract has to be there, means for that particular session, there has to be the contract or a goal. For example, if you want to extend for one session and you have a goal in mind that in that particular one session, I want to achieve this, and if the coach and you agree for that additional one session, please go for it. Please understand one thing. Right, do not get bogged down with these contracts and the agreements and the written things. Right, the moral, ethical, and human contract is higher than any paper contract. So what we are telling here is not to get bogged down by the paperwork. That is not the intention of this particular session. So understand the agreement is at a 3 level. Level number 1 is a relationship agreement, the highest level. The level number 2 is a holistic agreement, what you were talking. That is, I have the agreement for the 6 sessions and now I want to change it to the 7 session. Who is stopping you, madam? You are the independent entrepreneur. Whether after the 6, whether you want to conduct another 3 sessions, means nobody is going to stop you. Neither MML nor ICF nor any other government is going to stop you. It is your choice. It is your coaching methodology. You can do whatever you want to do. But whenever you do anything, right, do it professionally. So there has to be a communication between you and coaching. Not necessarily you have to re-sign the agreement, re-enter the agreement, unless it is a corporate agreement or a executive coaching agreement between the two companies. Then I understand the formality is more. At an individual level, the agreement is just the expectation setting and you understanding each other well. There is no ambiguity. That is the only purpose of the agreement. The purpose of the agreement is not to sue each other and go to the court and show it to the judge that is okay, this is the agreement. That is not the purpose of the agreement in the coaching. Purpose of the agreement in coaching is very simple. That are you understanding each other? Is the expectation setting well, right? Are the commercials, everything is well stated, there is no ambiguity. When the things are in writing, there is no ambiguity. That is the soul of the coaching agreement. Soul of the coaching agreement is not a legal agreement. Soul of the coaching agreement is not that if you are not in a position to means you can't change it, or means for a single additional session you have to re-sign the agreement. No. So take it at a ease. Take it from a higher level. Take it from the level of a entrepreneur and a holistic person. That is, what is the purpose of the agreement? If you understand the purpose of the agreement, the question will be solved.
Got it, sir. So if the communication is not done through any written signature agreement, I think I have asked you this question, that if one of my client, I am signing the agreement, but we are not signing it. We are communicating through a formal mail. I've shared all the rules and regulations. I have shared all the process that we are going through, the topics we are going to discuss. And in mail only, they have reverted through their professional company mail that we agree to all the terms and conditions. Then that is also counted as a formal agreement, right?
Anything is counted, but as a MML coach, we are going to give you the agreement format and you are going to sign the agreement, because now the means when the PDF is exchanged over the mail, right? Even if it is not signed, it is considered as an agreement legally, right? So you are going to become more systematic during this particular program. So you will have a 1-page, 2-page format of the agreement. You will send it to them, the draft. If they want to do some changes, they will do. And then there will be a PDF which is common between you and that particular organization. So this is what is going to happen, Vinny, in future, if not now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So to reiterate, it reaches the agreement about guidelines and specific parameters of coaching relationships, such as logistic fees, scheduling, duration, termination, confidentiality, and inclusion of others. I just explained what is confidentiality and including others, who all need to be into the bracket of the confidentiality, and under what circumstances may you want to terminate. You know, it could be that the termination could be if coaching is not the right intervention at all, or any other reason which the formal contract will state as to why the coachee would like to terminate the relationship. And as Hemant just mentioned, it is, if they need to terminate the relationship, fine, they are at choice to do so. So we would be just talking to them from an understanding and ethical level, and not really with the level of wanting to confront and you know, to take somebody to court or anything. Okay. Then partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to establish overall goals of the coaching plan. So it's the overall engagement of the plan and the goal of the plan, and subsequently the session goal and plan. Then partners with the just a minute. Just a minute. Just this. Just a minute, the slide has just moved out.
You may have to press back one more time because it is animation enabled, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. So partners with the client to determine the client-coach compatibility. So there is the session when we are talking to each other, understanding each other. So the comfort level between the client and coachee, whether we can really go ahead with it. In the first session itself, that is why the first session is called a chemistry session or a discovery session. And that is a time when if the coach or the client feels that, no, we're not really comfortable with each other, often they say that we'd like another coach or we don't want to have this coach. So partners with the client to determine the client-coach compatibility. Partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what they want to accomplish in the session. So that we need to do with every session, we need to establish what is the goal, what is it that what would be the accomplishment of that session from the client's viewpoint. Partners with the client to define what the client believes and needs to address or resolve to achieve what they want to accomplish in the session. Yes, because it is what needs to get addressed through your questioning and through your deep diving that will set you the direction of accomplishing the goal. Partners with the client to determine or reaffirms measures of success for what the client wants to accomplish in the coaching engagement or the individual session. So very often the goal can be a little broad or it can be a little unclear. So it is important that one becomes a little specific about the goal that needs to be achieved and what, according to the client, would he think that would be considered as achievement? What would be the measure of success? So that is that if at all there is a broader goal that he has mentioned, he will need to make it very clear as to, yes, if I can accomplish this, then I feel that, yes, I have accomplished my goal. Okay, so we will see that as we go along. Yes, Deepak?
Yeah, so I have one question related to this, that let's say there is a high level goal which has been identified maybe during the discovery session, right? And based on that, the agreement is being made with total number of sessions, let's say 6 or 8, right? And then now we are saying, if we talk about point number 7, that again, each session will have another goal, which should be linked to the higher goal. So these goals, how, I mean, my thought is that how we are going to identify that, okay, today, what is your goal, or how you are going to identify today's goal for today's session, which should be linked to your higher goal. You know what I'm saying? That either I should have those 6 or 8 goals already identified in my first session, then I will say, okay, I will take 6 sessions or 8 sessions. That could, I don't know if that is the approach. You know what I'm saying? So the number of sessions with respect to then when I'm getting into session number 2 with my coachee, how I can again start discussing. He will say that, I already told you that this is my higher version of goal.
Yeah. See, there is a higher version of goal, but after the first session, you have explored, you have made his perspective broader, you have given him a new awareness, following which there is certain action plan that has happened, which he has implemented. So now, though the overarching goal is already set, you see, there is going to be now a new awareness that has been created in session 1, which is obviously towards the achievement of the overarching goal. So now in your session 2, it is in this new state of awareness, new state after implementation and success achieved, that he will have a goal, yes, which is going to be in line with the overarching goal, but which is going to be in his new state of awareness. So it is not that the 8 goals are written in the beginning, right in the beginning.
Yeah, that Sushma means, let me explain this in a different way.
Okay.
Because his question means, of course, means you have highlighted a point, that is how the goals and the sessions evolve. So your focus of answer was, that is when you conduct one session, there is an action plan. So automatically the road becomes clearer and clearer as you start conversation with the coachee. Coachee takes some actions, there is some result, coachee gets more clarity. So coachee comes to the next session with a realization that means I want to work on this. So this is at a second level. So let me give you the understanding at a first level.
Yeah.
Right, because Deepak's question is that, means, for example, during the discovery session, so Deepak is assuming that that overarching goal can be, say, either completed in one session or the 3 sessions, and the every time means how he will have a separate goal for the session. So I have understood your confusion, and I will give you my own practical example, and this is what it happens, means, but I'm giving you example of 2014, right? Afterwards, I have conducted many coachings as a coach, right? But now I'm giving you my example as a coachee. So my organization sent me for emotional intelligence coaching, right, in 2014. And they told my coach that is okay, this particular person is very action oriented and the task oriented. We want to inculcate people orientation in this person, and we want to enhance his emotional intelligence, was the brief given by my organization to the coach. And of course, means, whenever these kind of the executive coaching assignments are there, the coach discusses with the organization, that is stakeholders. Also, coach discusses with the coachee, and then together a final say overarching goal is set. So what was the overarching goal set in my case? Improvement of emotional intelligence. So overall goal. Now, is emotional intelligence a single thing? No. Emotional intelligence is broken down into self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and social skills. So now the already there was an idea that there is a overarching goal. To meet that overarching goal, these are the 4 stages. So first you have to enhance your self-awareness, then self-management, then empathy, and then social skill. So automatically the vision was there, that is okay, I need to now walk on this particular path of the emotional intelligence improvement in the 4 stages. Like that, when you will finalize a overarching goal, you will also have a understanding of the sub goals. Maybe 100% clear, maybe 50% clear, maybe 20% clear, but always there will be a breakup of the overarching goal. Means you can tell me any goal, any statement, I can break that particular statement, right? Because you are not going to do all the actions and all the things in a single session, right? So any goal needs some kind of stages. It is like a project management, right? So the first the product will be designed. Once the product will be designed, then the prototype will be made. Once the prototype will be proven, then product will be manufactured, right? So like that, any goal achievement has a process. Any goal achievement has a stages. So at the time of overarching goal, as a coach, you will be clear, and the coach also will be clear. That is, we will approximately go into these particular phases. Now that approximate idea is there. Now, for example, you have now made online, right? And now there is a coachee. Now you will tell coachee that is okay. So this is our overarching goal. In today's session of 60 minutes, what is that you would like to discuss? Right? Means now, can I tell coachee that coach, that is coach, in today's 60 minutes, I want to improve my emotional intelligence. It is not possible, right? So coach also knows, coachee also knows. Then I will say to the coachee, okay, I think in today's session, I would like to get some insight into self-awareness. Just example, like that for any goal, there will be a sub-goal. Then you will focus that particular session on that particular self-awareness. Now, during the session, you will find that, okay, for the self-awareness also, there are 3 stages or the 3 main action points. So during this particular session, you could complete only 1 or 2. So still the balance one is there, even for the self-awareness. Now, it is very clear to you and coachee that in the next session, we are going to continue self-awareness, and we are going to discuss this point number 3, the option which we have already discovered, but we could not complete that particular option today. We will take it to the next session. So means it is like this. Once you take a purposeful direction, not necessary that the 100% of the journey has to be clear. Journey will get clear as you will walk on that particular path in a right direction. So the coaching is same. So during the coaching session, you will understand, okay, so we have covered this. Now this much is balance left. So you have a tentative agreement with the coachee even for the next session at the end of the first session. Now in a second session, the coachee will come. The coachee might want to continue what coachee has agreed in the end of the first session. Okay, we have already agreed, that is, I would like to, we would like to discuss on the point number 3 of the self-awareness. But maybe the coachee has faced some other problem which is directly or indirectly related to emotional intelligence. And coachee might tell you that is, yes, Deepak, we have discussed that today we were supposed to discuss on the self-awareness point number 3, but I have some intense need of this particular discussion point or goal. No problem. So there is a direct or indirect relation of that particular point to the overarching goal. So you will then change your plan and go with what client want to discuss on that thing. Now, how many times it will happen? Minority of the times, maybe 20-30% of the time, client, in spite of a tentative earlier agreement, might come up with some different goal. But in majority of the time, there is a understanding between you and client on session on session. At the end of this session, you will discuss, that is, okay, in next session, after 1 week, after 10 days, after 15 days, we will discuss on this particular point. So that clarity you are going to get. So Deepak, are you getting some idea how in practice it actually happens?
Yes, I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So partners with the client to manage the time and the focus of the sessions. Yes, there is a time bound, and one tries to maintain that. Sometimes there can be a spillover, but yes, we have committed on time, we maintain the time. And the focus of the session. The focus of the session is to focus towards achievement of the goals, that we are not digressing, because sometimes what happens is in conversation, we can digress. So it would be up to the coach to bring back the time to the client on the track. Continuous coaching in the direction of the client's desired outcomes, unless the client indicates otherwise. It's always the client who decides. So unless the client wants it otherwise, the direction will always be towards the desired stated outcome. And finally, partners with the client, partners with the client to end the coaching relationship in a way that honors the experience. So if it is, we have continued for the number of sessions that we have contracted, you close it amicably, you close it with a celebration for what has got achieved. You close it with a sense of partnership and achievement and celebration. If for any reason that the partnership has to, the engagement has to break in between, whether it is because the coachee doesn't want it or the client feels that they need to go to a therapist or something, it has to be done through a mutual discussion, talk, and it has to be done amicably, not with the idea of confronting and bringing any level of bitterness in the relationship. So that is what it is about, honoring the experience.
Ms. Kulkarni,
yeah.
May I request you to dwell deeper on point number 10, please?
10, yeah. What is the question?
It says continuous coaching in the direction of the client's desired outcome, which is on paper, we decide on an overarching goals, unless the client indicates otherwise. So is it like during the session, the client may change the goal? Is it that way, or what is it? Indicates otherwise in the sense?
Indicates otherwise as in that in the first place, during the entire engagement, there can be some tweaking of the goals that can happen itself.
Yes.
Okay. So you will obviously, you're going to now go along the route of the client only. Now, it can be that an additional goal is needed, that, through the conversation, you may feel that something else also needs to be brought in. So basic point that is being brought out here. It is basically the client's outcome that is to be honored. So either what has been stated in the session itself, the overarching session, and in the sub session, and it has to be moving towards that direction, unless for some reason the client says, no, I want to discuss something else, which is of paramount importance to me now, because with this change in awareness, now something new has come into my mind, which I feel will help me more to achieve the goal, or which I need to know so that I'm able to, manage better, whatever it is. So he can in between come up with something which needs to be taken cognizance of.
Yes. So the point number 10 is related to, means at the start of the session, you are having an agreement. So you are having agreement that is okay, we will discuss on point number A and we will go to the root of point number A. But during the evoking awareness phase of the same session, if the client says that, okay, now I have, with the increased awareness, I think it is not the point A, but the point B is what I would like to dwell further, then the coach agrees to that particular, the coach will not say, no, we have already agreed on the point number A and now we must discuss the point number A. That is not the approach coach is taking. The agreement is flexible. Who will have the final say in any agreement of any session? It is the coach, is the meaning of point number 10.
Perfect. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
This is like a bit out of context, but sometimes, it happens that the client is totally clueless. So this thing happened in our buddy coaching session, one of our sessions, that the person doesn't know how, they know the problem, but how to overcome the problem. So they are waiting for our guidance. They tell us to design the action plan and they want us to do the work. So is it okay to give them the action plan, design that action plan for them, or we continue helping them out to figure out that action plan, which will delay the coaching sessions? So in that kind of situation, what we do?
It will not delay the coaching session, but the entire objective of our coaching is to enable the client itself, right? To enable the client to come up with his own options, with his own solutions. So our job is to facilitate that. Now, during the action planning stages, we had discussed even in the previous session, which I had taken, that there can be some level that, with the client, with his experience, there could be some suggestion, there could be, but eventually the outcome has to be owned by the client. And also, what are the options that he'd like to take into forming an action plan? So the idea is not to make the client lazy and say, yes, now you have found an awareness, let me design the action plan for you. This is what I think you need to do and please do it. It's not like that. It is not something that, it's not a template that we share with them and say, you do what I tell you to do. No. He will have his own awareness, may help him come up with totally different ways of coming up with actions, because it is his environment, it is his awareness, and it is his ability to want to action and implement.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to the next.
So this competency underscores the fact that coaching is a partnership. It's a designed alliance between the coachee and the coach and other relevant stakeholders in the whole coaching partnership. So first is, this is being demonstrated when the coach aligns and agrees with the coachee and other stakeholders on the nature, coverage, and objective of the coaching partnership. And another occasion is when the coach agrees with the coachee on the outcome that he wants to achieve from the coaching session.
Yeah, so what this does is it's really two parts. One part exists prior at the beginning of a coaching relationship, and one part is for during the coaching session. And we'll be talking a little bit about what it looks like during a coaching session, mostly when we talk about, your mentor coaching hat. But let's first talk about going from the existing competencies to the updated competencies. Maybe you can draw a line between the past ones and what we're moving towards.
Yeah, so there are 4 major differences that I saw between the existing version and the updated version. So the first one is, in the existing version, there's no mention about the stakeholders as part of the whole coaching partnership. But in the revised version, it specifically mentioned that the relevant stakeholders, like the coach's supervisor, HR, or even the CEO, in the case of a sponsored coaching relationship, are involved in the whole coaching partnership. So that's one. Second difference is, in the existing version, this competency is only referring to contracting. So it's just about setting agreements for the whole coaching partnership. But in the revised version, it is also about determining and setting agreements with the coachee on the outcome that he wants to achieve from the conversation. And the third difference that I saw is the mention of compatibility. Compatibility meaning the chemistry between the coachee and the coach, which is actually a key ingredient in making a coaching relationship successful. And the fourth one is the mention of success indicators. Like, what are the measures of success? For you to say that it has been a very rewarding and meaningful coaching experience for the coachee. So that should be agreed upon also at the start of a coaching relationship or at the start of a coaching session.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for breaking those down. That was wonderful. Let's look at now putting on your mentor hat. What does it look like when a coach has really mastered this competency? When you're watching a tape, what are you seeing?
So I'm going to answer this question in 2 ways because it's being demonstrated in 2 parts. So the first one is during the contracting. So it's very basic that I'm looking for actually. So during the contracting, when the coach is able to cover everything that needs to be covered during this stage, then it should have been done well. And the second one is when the coach is able to facilitate a process or a discussion that will align the objectives of the coachee and the sponsor. And the third one is when the coach is able to define coaching in his own words, like not being so jargonistic, in layman's terms, right? And in a way that the client and the stakeholder can fully understand and can relate to. And not just simply reciting the ICF definition. Because if you simply recite the ICF definition, then the client or the stakeholder may not even understand what it really means. And the fourth one is when the coach is able to actually facilitate the discussion in a very spontaneous way, not sounding like going through a checklist or in a very mechanical way. So, because that will show the mastery of the coach of this process.
Okay, so let's move then to the individual coaching session. What does it look like when someone's mastered it for an individual coaching session?
So for the individual coaching conversation, there is mastery when the coach is able to actually help the coachee gain clarity of his real issue. And with that clarity, the person is able to determine what he really wants to achieve or accomplish or take away from the conversation. Oftentimes, in my experience, the outcome that the person wanted from the conversation changes or evolves along the way in the course of the conversation. And the coach should be able to catch that. And that would mean being completely present with the coachee, being in the zone with the coachee, so that the person or the coach is able to open all his senses to receive the person, having that sensory acuity. So it's not just all about asking the right questions, but also being able to really be completely present with the person so that you are able to listen to what he's saying and not saying. His assumptions, his aspirations, his values, his beliefs, his emotions, and being able to reflect this back to the coachee so that he gains awareness. And with that awareness, he's able to determine what he's really looking for in that conversation.
So what are some typical mistakes that people make?
Well, I observe actually very common ones, like number one is when the coach misses out on something and is not able to cover everything during the contracting. So that's one. Another one is when the coach actually just recites the definition of coaching based on the ICF definition, and he becomes jargonistic, not making sure that the person understands fully what it means. So, and the third one is not ensuring that there is alignment between the coachee and sponsor in terms of the coaching objectives or the coaching goals. And also clarification on the roles of the different stakeholders, like in this case, the coach, coachee, and the sponsor, and what can be reported and cannot be reported to the sponsor.
Yeah, and I think that really gets into the recognition of the stakeholders or sponsors, how important that is, and that's recognized in the updated code. But let's jump into what it looks like in a coaching session when someone's struggling around this competency.
All right, so when someone is struggling in this competency, he is probably focusing on the process and not on the coachee. So in other words, is not able to sense or feel or hear what the person is really looking for to achieve or to accomplish in that coaching conversation. And therefore, his mind is actually busy following his process versus really helping the coachee achieve some clarity in his issue. So if the outcome changes along the way, the coach is not able to detect that, because he is focusing on his process. And so if the person says at the start, like, I would like to find out ways on how to lose weight. So the coach tends to actually just stick to that. Even if in the course of the conversation, the emerging real issue is already about his commitment to lose weight. He lacks the commitment to lose weight, not anymore knowing about how to lose weight, but the coach is still pursuing, talking about how to lose weight and not on the commitment issue of the coachee.
So that's actually perfect in terms of rolling into the next section. The final section of our interview today is about the expectations of an ACC versus a PCC versus an MCC. Kind of just briefly tell us, what, as you're reviewing someone at the different levels, what's expected?
So at the ACC level, if they're somewhat stuck on the process, and that's okay, as long as they're able to cover everything, especially during the contracting. But at the PCC and MCC level, it is expected that they go deeper into the conversation, really helping the coachee achieve clarity in terms of what they are looking for in a coaching relationship or in a single coaching conversation. So this competency underscores the fact.
Okay, so we've seen the clip. Now we'll just go on to understanding the PCC markers. The coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish in the session. So when we're talking about markers, all these four things need to get demonstrated, need to get done. The coach partners with the client to define and reconfirm the measures of success for what the client wants to accomplish in the session. Coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in the session. Coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address to achieve in order to what they want to accomplish in the session. So basically, each of these must get demonstrated in the conversation. First and foremost, what is it that the client wants to accomplish in the session? get into a clarity on that. What is the measure of success that the client feels needs to accomplish in the session? So let me just give you an example. What do we mean by that? So if the overarching engagement is to improve team management, okay, for a team leader, and at this particular session, the client says that he would like to improve his delegation skills. That is what he'd like to do in this session. He wants awareness on how to improve delegation, because that's one thing that needs to get done to improve his team relationships. So when we say what is the measure of success, that would mean if he comes up with, say, 2 ways on how to delegate better, he will feel that he has accomplished success in the session. Okay, so he has now stated that when I say I'd like to improve my delegation, my success measure is to come up with 2 ways in which I can improve my delegation, or 1 way, or 3 ways, whatever it is. Is that clear? Is that clear or?
Yes.
Yeah. Coach, because that is where sometimes, we are not clear. Coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to achieve. Now, this is, yes, you have to deep dive and find out why it is important for the client to accomplish this session. What is so important? So in the example that I mentioned, because delegation is an extremely crucial skill required in team management. And that is where the person would have a much larger handle on his team. So therefore it is important. So why is it so important that the client wants to accomplish this session? Okay, and coach partners with the client to define what they believe is in. So in doing so, what is it that the client needs to address? Where is he stuck? What are the obstacles that are coming in the way that is preventing him from being where he'd like to be? That needs to be addressed and deep dived into. All right. Okay.